Hi, welcome back to the Silent Song and Other Stories. This is going to mark the end because the number of short stories that you've looked at the Silent Song and Other Stories, this topples up. This really, it is the final thing, if I'm not wrong, of a short story that you're going to be looking at. That is the Checkmate by Kevin Baldeo Singh. First of all, we're going to look at the analysis itself. The analysis has to entail exploration of all aspects that this particular writer, especially in this particular short story, Checkmate, has used, and maybe he wants to share with his audience out there. Without that much further ado, let's dive into it. No. Before we dive into it, in case you're coming across this work your first time, a good friend of yours referred to this particular good channel. How about a thumbs up, a like, a sharing, and a good, nice, soothing comment down there in the comment section? That will do me good. A subscription, and of course, hitting that notification bell, leaving it on, would mean that you'll be the first one to be notified of our future updates. You won't miss a thing. Into it. About the author. Kelvin Baldeo Singh was born in 1963 in Caribbean island of Trinidad. He is a newspaper columnist, author, and a humanist involved in many controversial social issues. He has worked with the Trinidad Express, Newsday, and the Trinidad Guardian. He worked for 25 years in the field of journalism. Episode or sub-episode in this particular work. We have at the bank, we have with the tailor, back to her apartment, and also at the company office with Randall. That's all. That is exactly what you're going to be looking at. Given the fact that there is a journalist had worked for 25 years in the same field, especially in the Newsday and the Trinidad Guardian and also the Trinidad Express, there has to be a lot about this particular author here. Let's look at the synopsis of specifically this particular text, Checkmate. Checkmate is a story about Sukia, Miss Chenzing, a poor damsel from Panel, the Caribbean island of Trinidad, and her boss, Randall, a credo of the Amerindian tribe. She is on the platinum credit card queue and intends to deposit $30 million, that is $5 million US. But there is a mistake that throws her into panic and dilemma. Sukia is an executive corporate secretary recently promoted, and her salary raised tenfold. $50,000 go into her savings account each month end, but the money does not show her actual income. She avoids the bank manager, for she has accumulated more than more, and her deposits are pretty frequent and high. Mr. Randall makes these $5 million check payments for fear of cleaning by offshore accounts hackers syndicate. The tailor advises her to open a US savings account and return the following day. As she drives her Porsche car back to her apartment, she's obsessed with the $5 million but pleased and relieved that she has successfully handled an awkward situation. She has to check her private records before seeing her boss, Randall. She weighs all possibilities of legal investigations, discovery, and embarrassment, but finally convinces and assures herself that there is no cause for worry. She romanticizes what she could do with such vast sums of money, especially her residential abode. Randall has her as a corporate secretary who draws up contracts, studies conveyances, and writes legal opinions. However, her critical role, for which she is handsomely paid, is to create loopholes in such documents, including the sale of the methanol company to the Chinese government. Randall is also a major campaign contributor. Thriving in such an environment, the poor girl suddenly turned prosperous, is delighted that she has accumulated a lot. After confirming that the sums and dates on the checks are correct, she goes to see Randall for an explanation. Then the truth about the trick unfolds. The money is a fee for keeping her mouth shut on the Chinese methanol deal, which Sukia undervalues the shares by 50%. At a time when technology can be used to conceal fraudulent secrets in cryptographic codes, it now dawns on Randall that it can also be used to reveal them. It is a fraud Sukia has to deal with herself altogether with her check mate, Randall. thanks to her cyberspace technology skills. Alright, let's look at the title of the story. How relevant is the title of the story? Checkmate. Who are the checkmates in the story? Why are the checks preferred as their payment modes? And how do checkmates exploit contracts' complexity and detailed nature of commit fraud? Explore and analyze the existence of the following themes: corruption or fraud, bribery, deceit, and betrayal, loyalty checks. We're going to look a couple of few things here, and a good learners, I would also like you to also look, if you read the text, that particular short story anthology rather, how about some couple of few questions there, and then of course I'm going to leave a link and also maybe a means of connecting with me, so that when you feel like maybe you need to also maybe look at your work, and then I'll give a comment over the same, see if we are getting this straight. A couple of few things we look at: corruption, or there may be the following. We are going to look at the themes: corruption, fraud or bribery, deceit and betrayal, loyalty checks. Let's look at the thematic concerns, and that is, the first one is going to be the corruption or bribery. The banks and government will surely unravel and nab the cartels and underhand deals in a cryptocurrency camouflaged in the check deposits and contracts. That's found on page 108. The first eyebrows are raised when the bank teller repeats the question, "Mrs. Singh, do you want the $30 million deposit in your savings account, or will you prefer to open a US dollar account?" That is on page 98. The official deductible salary standard for top executives does not show in her actual income through platinum credit cards. Suki has accumulated over $10,000, an amount she deposits 5 times every month. Page 99. She avoids encounters with bank managers. For a bank manager might wonder how a $50,000 a month salary becomes $7 million in savings within 6 years. He would know enough to make some educated guesses, and that is still on page 99. The bank teller reminds Ms. Singh that the check is for $5 million, US equivalent to 30,242,000 Trinidad and Tobago dollars. That is on page 99. She is responsible for moving vast sums through various channels when the oil and gas boom starts and money flows into the company. Sukiya will need to provide the source of funds, of course. Rendell had watched too many movies where unrealistically cunning criminals clean and business offshore accounts by hacking into them. Ironically, when Sukiya, a lawyer, is hired as a corporate secretary to detect and close financial loopholes in documents, she gets paid the largest checks for creating such loopholes, and that is found on page 103. The 5 million checks that she gets, she assumes, is her fee for having drawn up for the sale of methanol plant by Rendell. It could be a surprise bonus, but now, according to Rendell, it is her for keeping her mouth shut during the deal. Then the truth about the trick unfolds. The money is a fee for keeping her mouth shut on the Chinese methanol deal, which Sukiya undervalues the shares by 50%. It is a deal that the Chinese considered a protocol, even with the bribe. It is clear that the frauds committed, both inadvertent and deliberate, are rewarding, but eventually the perpetrators will have to pay dearly. She is almost at the point of betraying herself, insinuating in her mind that her readiness to offer herself into Rendell, for he is a man. Sukiya wants every advantage if the meeting turns into a negotiation. A theme of deceit and betrayal. Eventually, Miss comes to terms with the reality that all this time that she has worked for the company under Mr. Rendell, a credo was a disguised syndicate for which she will face the force of the law. When investigations are done, she will have to defend herself as to how she has accumulated all this wealth over a very short period of time since she started working as a poor young girl from Penal. Now, she swims in opulence, affluence, and prosperously apparently does not need money, as millions of dollars accumulate in a desk drawer. That is found on page 104 to page 105. When she examines the checks, the sums and dates are all right, signed by Rendell and countersigned by herself. She could put various clauses into contract to achieve certain ends or prevent the other party from attaining certain ends. However, she has been duped and used as a conduit for Randall's fraudulent deals. Through the valuation report, Sukiya signs the document without reading it properly or because Randall tells her to do so. Further, Randall himself forges his signature using Sukiya's pen. This form of deceit and betrayal sharply undercuts her, and that is found on page 107 to 108. Margaret, Randall's executive assistant, is paid more than most managers in the company's subsidiaries. She knows more about Randall's dealings than anyone else in the company, including Sukiya, and that is found on page 106. Loyalty checks. It seems everything throughout the story is conducted in terms of checks. Asked about the checks amounts, the figures runs automatically through her head, page 101. Sukiya has to fly from Trinidad to Grand Cayman to deposit checks to her account every 2 months, page 104. She keeps both her US and TT checks in the same drawer, which is how the mix-up occurs, and that is page 105. A very big thank you for watching. And this, of course, marks the end of this particular end of summary, survey, exploration, and a brief review of Checkmate. And I hope it finds you well, and I hope that you find that there are parts that you feel like they are key aspects of this particular work. Of course, you won't take everything. Remember, this is literature. Your opinion also stands to be counted. And then again, even in case you came across this particular work by accident, a thumbs up will do make good, a subscription, of course, a sharing with good friends out there. A subscription will mean that you won't be left out for our future uploads rather, and each and every time that we do an upload in the same particular field. And if literature is your thing, is an area that maybe you were passionate about, then definitely this is a channel that you would like maybe to hook around so that you get those particular tons and tons of uploads rather that are in the same line of your interest. Cheers for now, till we meet next time round.